Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Picturehouse 2. And today, and of course, I'm the Cinemastein. Today, we'll be reviewing Friday the 13th Part 2, which is the sequel to the 1980s slasher horror slasher classic, well, Friday the 13th. And today, on this time around, of course, once again, I am joined by my two good friends, Spike Greene from the Film Geek Collective, and my good friend, the Silver Screen Slasher.
Subscribers beware. You're in for a scare.
And Friday the 13th Part 2 came out in 1981, 1 year after the original.
Yeah. More specifically, this film came out almost a year after the first film. Since Friday the 13th came out in June 13th of 1980, and Part 2 came out in May of 1981.
Anyway, of course, well, the plot of this film is, well, we actually start off on a dark, cold summer night, where we see the main protagonist, at least from the previous film, Alice, played by Christina Wig or something like that. Or no, anyway, I forgot her name. So anyway, we find her in her bed having nightmares / flashbacks from literally of the last few minutes of the original film.
It should be pointed out that
I feel like this is a bit pointless because you could literally just see this in the original film and yeah, it literally just. But anyway, they show us this and that's the one part of the beginning I will admit they could have just cut out.
Stein, it should be pointed out that this part of the film actually takes place 2 months after the first movie.
All right.
But still,
anyway,
I agree with Stein here. Basically, I think it felt like they were trying to pad it out, so they had 87 minutes. You know.
That is true. Eventually, though, Annie does eventually manage to wake up from her little nightmare. Don't worry.
No, Alice, not Annie. Here.
Go on.
Right.
I got nothing. It's all good.
Yep. Anyway, just to sum this up real quickly, Alice hears a strange noise. Is warning this actually review might have some inappropriate language
and spoilers.
So she is pretty much scared the absolute shit out of by a stray cat, and then of course a few moments later she opens her fridge door, finds a severed head, and screams, and then Jason Voorhees comes from behind and slowly stabs her right through the brain, just a little before the opening credits.
With a nice pick of all things.
Yep.
Yeah, for those of you who were surprised.
And yes, that's right, folks. That our main protagonist from the original is killed off in this sequel.
And by the person who was drowned in the first prior to the first movie. Yep, Friday the 13th Part 2 is after the film where Jason Voorhees makes his big cinematic debut.
Except he has the bag over his head instead of the mask, and I was like, well, I mean, they delayed showing his face for a while, which I guess added to the mystery back then. But then it was like, well, they showed the bag after, I don't know, maybe the 50, 60-minute mark, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, not the mask I'm used to, but it's something.
To be honest, though, he does look a bit like the villain from the town on the Dread Sundown.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on, before we get a bit too carried away.
Mm-hmm.
This time around we are introduced to a new cast of characters / new body count. And now these characters. Well, first we should probably start off with our main lead this time around. Jenny, played by Amy Steele, and also one other character besides Alice is returning for the sequel, who appeared in the original. Crazy Ralph, played by Walt Gournay.
Was he like? I keep forgetting the characters' names exactly, but I was like, well,
he's pretty much the weirdo in Friday the 13th Part.
Oh, the town, like you're doomed. You're doomed.
He's basic. He was basically the first film's harbinger of doom, basically.
I gotta be honest. Like, I wish they didn't kill him off in this one. They really should have kept him around so he could be like in every film. You're
Yeah,
doomed.
and he was killed off as well. As
Mm.
Spike just pointed out.
Um,
Then next we come to Jenny's
boyfriend, Paul.
I guess you could say love interest of the film.
Paul
Paul,
Holt.
played by John Fury. And then we are also introduced to Mark, played by
Tom McBride.
sorry, just gonna search it up real quickly here.
Yeah, we're introduced to wheelchair-bound Mark Jarvis, played by Tom McBride.
Yep, Tom McBride. And then we have Ted, played by Stu.
To be honest, though, does it really matter? Most of these characters are gonna die by the end of the movie.
Oh, fuck it, I'm done, honestly. I can't find the fucking character, so you know, fuck it.
Yeah, honestly, though, it doesn't really matter. As mentioned, most of
Anyway,
these
now
characters
thinking
are
about it, they're
gonna
pretty
die.
much characters that we don't give a shit about, and there we go, fuck it.
Like in every
I'm trying to
slash,
research the characters, but it was too fucking hard, and I could find barely their fucking names, so fuck it.
It
most
doesn't make sense.
most of the characters in these movies, it's like, well, apart from your occasional Nancy Thompson or Laurie Strode, you never really care for the two-dimensional characters that are in these movies.
Yeah. And
Because
honestly,
Speaking of these characters, but here's the unfortunate thing about them, and this is what I hate. What anyway as well makes Halloween so perfect is most of the characters, you remember their names easily, but with this franchise now thinking about it, and I never thought I'd say this, but this is probably now one of the few things that even frustrates me about this. And I'm sorry, Spike, that I fucked up a bit there as well. I tried it.
okay, that's okay.
But still, just trying to research the cast each time for these movies, and since they all keep changing, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not doing that when we do our part 3 review. Forget it.
yeah.
So,
honestly, though, Stein, it's okay.
We
To
can
be
just
honest,
refer to them as, I don't know, for example, since these are spoiler reviews, like, say, I'm going to use part 2 as an example, that we just saw. A couple who has sex and gets killed, or
basically, we still have the trickster group, the horny boy and girl, and a few token minorities.
and also the douchebag of the film.
To be honest, though, I never really actually found a douchebag.
And the sexy one of the group.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, a few token minorities, wheelchair-bound Mark being one of them.
I mean, it's good they introduce. I'm just going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. It's good they introduce diversity into there, but at the same time, there is a recurring problem even in today's cinema where sometimes they'll be like, well, we'll just throw in another person who has a disability or who may be of another race, or
they all become stereotypes at the end.
Just to say that they did instead of properly developing them. It's a problem in cinema. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, anyway, we should probably get moving on from the characters, and now to the character. I guess I want to say I'm gonna get to the dumbass / stupid moments of this film, or little nitpicks that I have with it. First off is the sexy character, right? The sexy girl. I'm just gonna call her because
Basically.
Right.
And by the way, all the characters are typical stereotypes. Anyway, what I find so stupid about her introduction is, right, the douche guy, right? He throws a tiny little rock at one of her. I'm just saying now. Of course, I'm not saying this to offend anyone, but it hits her right in her right side
in the butt.
In her butt. But
that was only to get her attention.
That is what happens in the movie. The movie decides to sexualize it by giving a close up of her buttocks in jeans, which was sadly a common thing of needlessly sexualizing women.
But here's the stupid thing that I just realized. She says "ow," right, and she touches her left butt cheek, but you see,
she was hitting the right
hit her
butt
in her right butt cheek.
Everything
you see the kind of the big mistake there. I don't know why she did that.
Okay, let's put a tally on the editing mistake counter because there might at least be a few around here.
Oh yeah, and here's actually kind of a now funny moment, right? In the last few minutes, without of course fully spoiling it just yet, but there's one, of course, during a little fight scene with Jason and Jenny, right? She grabs a chainsaw, right, and starts trying to hit and swing it at Jason, right, to cut him up, obviously, to millions of pieces. But here's something that I swear I just noticed. you might disagree with me, but I swear I noticed this. I swear the chainsaw slightly touches Jason in the arm, right? And guess what I saw? A little spark came from his arm, I swear, and I'm like, is Jason made out of steel or adamantium?
Not until part 10.
No wonder why they can't kill him in these movies.
He's a cyborg now.
I swear, if you guys one day rewatch that movie again, I swear, pause real quickly during that scene, just if you can. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not joking.
Oh, come on. Jason doesn't become a cyborg until part 10.
Now to at least a bit of the interesting facts of the film. Speaking of the town of the dreaded sundown, I heard that his sack or his mask or whatever, right, in this film was actually a bit based, or yeah, pretty much based on
Yeah, on the
Phantom
Berlin
killer,
sector.
who was a real life serial killer back in the 1950s, and
Yikes.
was also in, of course, two films I should say that were called That Town of the Dreaded Sundown.
Would you be referring to the original movie from 1976 and the reboot from 2014?
Yeah, pretty much both of them.
Go figure. And apparently
Anyway,
they tried to do something similar
yep.
with the Baghead Killers and Django Unchained.
Yep, and also one other thing now I wanted to get to, of course, is the kills / effects. They're just as usual. They're still so damn realistic and amazing to watch. We gotta say, this is some good gory stuff we got here.
My personal favorite
effects
death in the movie came from Mark. Basically, from a shot that wouldn't make a sense. It's during a lightning flash, while Mark was waiting for Vicky, and the girl that was interested in boning him, and Jason swung a machete into his face, and then, in a hilarious twist, his wheelchair rolled backwards and went straight down a flight of stairs. It was just out of nowhere. I mean, seriously, there was a freaking comedic beat in that death.
Oh, and I almost forgot to explain this part of the plot, but the reason why Jason is killing all these people, obviously, is because, well, because now his soul cannot rest, and so that is why he goes on this killing spree, because his soul cannot rest.
Not exactly.
Now,
I think it's more based on the fact that he's getting revenge for on the teens that killed his mother.
Well, really, it's both, really.
Also, one other fact that it should be pointed out: Friday the 13th Part 2 actually takes place is 5 years. The main plot of the film takes place 5 years after the events of the first film, so it's set in a fictional 1984.
Anyway, I almost forgot one other, probably my favorite character in this film is Muffins. Or Muffin.
Oh, the dog.
The little dog. It's so sad that later on, warning as well, and I think, yeah, you already know about this, Spike, but let's just say Jason makes a bit of a steak out of her.
Like, it came up so suddenly, too. I was like, holy shit, why is that? Like, kill all the human characters you want, but the animal, if you're new to our reviews and you're watching this review, I don't like seeing animals get hurt. I don't like seeing animal corpses on the screen. So
me either,
when the dog was all disemboweled and all that, just really suddenly appeared.
Yeah, speaking of other quick, actually, a little thing that I have a question about. In the last few minutes, right? Do you know one thing I as well wondered during that movie? Where the hell was the prankster kid? Because I saw it after the bar scene, because there is a bar scene, right, with the two other characters, mostly the two main ones, but after that scene, he never shows up again. We don't even see him get killed, or we don't even know what the hell happens to him. He just
here's the thing,
another one of those characters who randomly disappears from the film.
Not disappears. He actually survives the movie. Yeah, that Ted guy actually survived. Got himself not getting killed by Jason by leaving the freaking camp.
I mean, he could have run out into the theater, except this one wasn't in 3D.
Really?
Oh, I see what you did there.
Well, that wasn't. If Part 2 wasn't in 3D, I guess this wouldn't be either.
One quick little thing I want to mention as well that I heard from Angry Video Game Nerd, and just to sort of really spread this bit, I heard that some people said Jason never really ran. Well, they kind of are right, but he wouldn't mostly just not do that in the later sequels. But I said, just for one quick second, you do actually see Jason run. So really, even it's not like obviously the fastest run, but he ran. So no
Basically,
offense,
it's more of a
guys, but you're at least kind of wrong about that for all those people who think that.
Yeah, I guess you could call Jason the speed walker of horror movies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, now I guess we should probably, since there's honestly not that much as well to cover with this film, because there's not many new things I can think of to talk about. So
Let's
now
talk
I
about
guess
the
we
J-Man
should get
himself.
to the climax. I'll quickly explain it myself. So it pretty much ends with, well, at least
Ginny.
the climax starts with Paul and Jenny coming back from the bar or whatever, right? And finding the, oh, by the way, I almost forgot, but they're not at Camp Crystal Lake anymore. They're at a place called the Pakanaka Lodge. That's the way I can say it. But yeah, anyway, they get back to the Pakanaka Lodge, and they find the place is completely empty.
Yeah,
And also
Camp
a bit of blood.
Pakanag.
But they still don't know what the hell is going on until out of nowhere, from the shadows, Jason, in a very, to me, goofy way, tackles Paul to the ground and then does something to him. I honestly don't exactly know. I'm guessing
He just pops up out of nowhere.
I think it just takes him away. Like, he went out the window with him, and then I don't think we really saw what happened, if I can remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, let's say this is Paul and this is Jason. Yoink.
It was like a worse version of what would happen 3 years later in one of the Elm Street films. Not going to spoil that.
Anyway, another thing that I wouldn't say I have a problem with, but this climax I feel like is a bit, well, kind of, I don't know, stupid, is that to me has a pretty goofy chase scene. But yes, we have Jason and Jenny on a very goofy chase scene, and just the way Jason, like, there's one scene where I believe he is hit by something or whatever, right?
Yeah, by a chair.
Yeah, and the way he takes some of these hits, they like doink, and like every time I saw him get hit, I would make these sort of doink sort of sounds or whatever, just for a joke.
To be fair,
like, I'm like, come on, Jason, you're Jason freaking Voorhees. Like, you should be like you should be way more stronger and better than that. But anyway,
to be
especially
fair,
one of my favorites, probably my favorite hit that he takes in this film, right, is seeing and somehow Jason doesn't find this, but he goes into the trees, right, into this bush, right, where Jenny's hiding, and he gets kicked right in the balls, and he goes down that easily.
Well,
I mean, I think any man would go down that easily if he's kicked in the balls.
Yeah, fine. To be fair, Jason was only human in the first 3 sequels.
That's true. I mean, and then of course, let's just quickly sum it up. Jenny goes deeper into the forest, comes across Jason's house, and in search for help, but instead she comes across Jason's mother's severed head and her
and horny girl number 1
and her sweater.
Yep. Oh, by the way,
and so she sees Jason on the way into the house, and quickly wastes no time and puts on Jason's mother's sweater and tries to convince Jason that she really is his mother.
Yeah, it was foreshadowed early in the movie that Ginny was studying in child psychology, so maybe that was why she was able to trick Jason for at least 2 minutes as with her Pamela cosplay.
That was a bit weird. Like, was that magic or what? I didn't really get that.
And yeah, she tries to figure out Jason's motivation in this film as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, she convinces Jason, at least for most of the time, that she really is his mother, until Jason realizes it is not his mother. So he takes his pickaxe, wastes no time, and swings it at Jenny, but injures her in the leg in the process. And so now, but thankfully, just in the nick of time, I guess you could say Jenny's knight in shining armor comes to the rescue. Paul and starts tackling, tries to restrain Jason, and for the second time in a row, Jenny wastes no time, grabs the machete, and slices
swings it into Jason's
not a lot, but still kills Jason once and for all, ending his killing spree for now.
For now.
So this film
I just want to mention, I think that she, I think you can usually survive a wounded leg like that unless it's too deep, because I think that medically, if if it hits an artery, she could have really bled out. So she was lucky that was more of a nick or not very deep. Because, yeah, realistically, and you can't usually die from a leg wound unless it's too deep or hits an artery or whatever. I think. I just thought that might be an interesting fact to know in terms of how the human body would work.
Yeah. Also, just to point this out, Stein, in Jenny's machete swing into Jason's shoulder only knocked him out. It didn't actually kill him.
Well, really impaled him through the shoulder.
He brushed it off around the beginning of part 3.
Anyway, then of course, just real quickly just like in the first film,
there's a jump scare.
No, hold on. Paul and Jenny find little muffins okay for some reason, somehow, and then Jason gives us another one of his good old jump scares, and that was Friday the 13th Part 2. No offense, just of course my quick final thoughts on it. The effects for the kills and what the kills themselves are cool and brutal as usual. Jason is still pretty cool enough, even though he is a bit of a goofball at least near the end. And the characters are just bland to me, and not very well developed, in fact barely at all. And they're just there for the body count. And still even just the mythology behind Jason and just the story in general, I still thought was pretty fun and pretty cool at times. And still, to me, in my opinion, I think it was a decent sequel. So I'll give this the same rating. At least Spike will give it a 6 out of
10. How much out of 10 will I give it? Ooh, it's a wild guessing game. It is a total guessing game. It's 6 out of 10. Yes, you're right. 6 out of 10.
I'm gonna be honest with you. This was Friday the 13th Part 2 is not one of my favorite films in Jason's whole franchise. Honestly, though, with some of the latest sequels, they do get a bit more exciting. This one is just boring. I give it a 5 out of 10.
Anyway.
But I should point this out. Jason wasn't the only a slasher in 1981 to get a sequel.
Oh.
Next time, we take a look at the continuation of Michael Myers' adventures in Halloween 2.
Until then, kiddies, see you later.
Sweet nightmares.